I'm going to start with my number 5 when we get to that.
Okay, we're going 5-1.
You can go 1 to 5. I don't care what you do. You're a grown adult. I won't tell you what to do.
I prefer to go 1 to 5, to be honest. But
okay, well, I have the least number of notes for my number 5, so I'm going to start with my number 5. So
okay,
you can start with your number 1, but we are here on a Friday night on the Wisco Fanatics show. Jake and I are going to try to do this once a month. We're going to do a bonus episode once a month and get into some different topics than we normally would on our Wednesday shows. Our Wednesday shows are just going to be just the latest, and we'll be doing recaps and just some questions and stuff. But our Friday shows, we're going to try to do some stuff that's a little bit different. And today, what we're going to do is guys who were never the same when they left their Wisconsin teams. So we're going to discuss some guys who used to be on a Wisconsin team and were no longer on a Wisconsin team and weren't the same as they were when they were. So whether it's by trade or free agency, yeah, Anthony, unfortunately, will be talking about that game on Wednesday. We're going to try to keep today's show a little lighter, so we're not going to discuss the negativity. So, James, this might be an interesting one for you. We're not just talking about the latest in Wisconsin sports, but we're gonna talk about some guys who succeeded when they were here and did not succeed as much when they left. So, Jake's going to kick it off with his number 1.
All right, my number 1, Greg Jennings. So, Greg Jennings was kind of the model of how we came up with this topic, because he just stays relevant by talking about his Wisconsin team. Obviously, he played for the Packers, and he was pretty damn good when he was on the Packers too. I broke the numbers down by totals and average. That's kind of how I attacked this topic here with Greg Jennings. And he played 7 years in Green Bay. He had 425 catches, 6,537 yards, 53 touchdowns, and 285 first downs. So for 7 years, he averaged catches, 933 yards, 7.5 touchdowns per year, and 40 first downs. Now, you're thinking those are not monster numbers because we're looking at what Davante Adams has done in the last couple of years. But if you break it down and you look at the offense that we had back then, all the weapons we had, you're having a guy having 60 catches for 7 touchdowns, and he's 1 through 5. We were stacked, and we had a tight end, and we had, running backs. Like, those early years of Rodgers, and Greg Jennings obviously was here before Rodgers. Those early years with Rodgers and the last couple of years with Favre, we were loaded on the receiving core. And it's something that, Packers fans talk about now, drafting a wide receiver in the first round. But now the reason we're doing this is you break it down after he left. Minnesota, he actually wasn't horrible. He was there for 2 years, had 127 catches, 1,546 yards, 10 touchdowns, 77 first downs. When you do that on average, he averaged 63.5 catches to 60, 773 yards, down from 933, 5 touchdowns, down 7.5, and 38.5 first downs, down from 40. Now, you're like, oh, that's too bad. He didn't look that horrible. And then you go to his 1 year in Miami. And that was really when everybody kind of knew when he was just done. It was like, okay, Greg, time to retire. Go sit on Fox Sports and talk shit about Aaron Rodgers for the next 8 years so you can stay relevant. He only had 19 catches that year, 208 yards, 1 touchdown, and 7 first downs. That was, and he was still chirping. His sister was chirping, and the whole reason that he left is because he wanted us to pay him. And, there's another guy on my list, and it's kind of a similar situation, but he was injured a lot more. And Greg Jennings was actually a good player. If he wouldn't talk so much shit about Aaron Rodgers, I think he would actually be loved in Green Bay because he had a lot of memorable touchdowns, had a lot of big games. He was on teams that, he was on a Super Bowl winning team. So, Greg, put the foot in your mouth, please. I want to like you.
Yeah, that's the thing too. He was such a big part of the Super Bowl run the Super Bowl itself. Like
2 touchdowns.
He would be loved.
Yeah.
But he says dumb shit nowadays. And now he's the model for guys who weren't the same when they left Wisconsin. Like if you bring this topic up, he's like the first name that's going to come to people's minds. He really is.
Yeah, he is. But
so my first guy, my number 5, I'm going to count down. Jake's going to count up. maybe that'll help you guys keep it straight, but maybe it won't. My guy was traded, and it's Giovanni Gallardo. So Jake and I made sure too that we didn't have any guys intersecting. So Giovanni Gallardo played 8 years with the Milwaukee Brewers. He had a 3.69 ERA in those 8 years, and then he was dealt to the Texas Rangers. His first year with the Rangers, he was decent. He had a 3.42 ERA, 33 starts. He was 13-11, which is, it's, could be worse, I guess. So he had a decent year his first year in Texas. Did have 25 fewer strikeouts. But then you go to his age 30 season was the 1 year he was in Baltimore, a 5.42 ERA and only 85 strikeouts. Kind of a rough year for him. And then he spent a year in Seattle, and he had a 5.72 ERA and 94 strikeouts that season. And then he did a year where he played a few games with Cincinnati, and then he went back to the Rangers, and he finished that season with a 5.77 ERA, only 58 strikeouts. The Milwaukee Brewers did give him an invite to spring training in, I think that was 2018, and he did not make the team, so he was let go, and then he retired. So Giovanni Gallardo was awesome in Milwaukee and had a decent year in Texas, and then after that was very not good in his early 30s, and then he retired. So my number 5 was Giovanni Gallardo. I like Jake's number 2. I thought it was very sneaky when we presented this topic, so I'm looking forward to Jake's number 2.
All right, my number 2 is Bret Bielema. Everybody remembers Bret. He was at we won a lot of games when Bret Bielema was here, and he when he was in 2006, he was in 2005. So for 1 year, he was okay. He was 68-24 in his tenure, and 3 Rose Bowls, all losses. On those teams, he had Russell Wilson, he had J.J. Watts. I mean, we had a lot of talent on those teams. And in some ways, he kind of set us up for success. I think he really was the one that got us started. But in my opinion, Bret Bielema kind of made it so cool to come to us as an athlete because, we were in for the Rose Bowl, so that's pretty good. But when he went to Arkansas, and he went there for money, let's not joke. He was there from 2013 to 2017. He was 29-34. Now you think about that record, you're like, oh, that's not too bad. Now his conference record, 11-29. Everybody, and we were mad when he left Wisconsin. Obviously, felt like he kind of left us high and dry, disrespected us. But when he went over to Arkansas, we all were like, I hope he gets his ass. Senior assistant coach on the New York Giants, and then last year he came in. He was the coach of Illinois. He's 5-7 with Illinois last year, so which is 45% win percentage, which is not good. And when he was at Wisconsin, it was 74%. So you go from a guy that's winning in the 70s to a guy that's winning in the 40s, and you're like, that's pretty bad. He got what he deserved, in my opinion. I mean, he made a lot of money on the way there, good. But
yeah, that's true. Yeah, that was a good one. When you put out that one, you asked me, does it have to be players? And I was like, well, why are you asking? And you said, because I want to use Bret Bielema. I'm like, that's very clever. So that's definitely a good one. I think that's a pat on the back for you because that's a pretty good one.
Appreciate
All right, my number 4 is Eddie Lacy. This one isn't a super shocking one. He probably could have been number 5 just because his decline started before he left the Packers, and people know why. It's because he got progressively larger as he went on, and it wasn't in a good way. He didn't get stronger or more muscular. He got the nickname Cheeseburger Eddie, and I see Brad in the comments is getting ahead of me already. Pipe down, Brad. We'll get there. Brad leapfrogging me already. This guy. We'll get spoiler alert. He's in mine. He's in my top 5. Eddie Lacy. His career lasted 5 years. He was like the first round running back. It had been like 12 years since a first round running back was drafted and the Packers picked him.
Yeah.
His his decline happens really quickly. So from his rookie season, 1,178 yards, 11 touchdowns, 15 games, 4.1 yards per carry. Pretty solid. We're like, okay, cool. We have a running back. We got Eddie Lacy. We got something going there. So yards. Rookie year, 1178. Second year, 1139. All right, it's only 39 yards off. Third year in the NFL, 758 yards. He only played, in 15 games, 758 yards. That was kind of the beginning of Aaron Rodgers having to basically call audibles every single play and not running the ball really at all. But even still, in those 758 yards, he did average 4.1 yards a carry. Then his last year in Green Bay, he did average 5.1 yards a carry, only played 5 games, though, 360 yards. And then when he left the Packers, he played 9 games with the Seattle Seahawks, 179 yards in 9 games, 2.6 yards per carry. He had the same number of touches as he did in his last year in Green Bay and his 1 year in Seattle, had half as many yards in nearly twice as many games.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was a rough end of the career for Eddie Lacy. It was like, okay, yeah, it looks like we might have something, and then just straight off the cliff. And, the nickname Cheeseburger Eddie wasn't a particularly endearing one. So that's Eddie Lacy. And he's to this day still only 31 years old.
That's crazy, man. I love our backfield. AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones. Thank God that Eddie Lacy decided to not put down the seafood. But holy camoli, man. I thought Lacy was going to be here forever, man. I thought he was going to be all-time great at Lambeau.
I thought he'd be, a couple years in. He'd get some NFL conditioning. It'd slim him down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It just never happened.
Yeah. That's sad. It really is. And, man, he's a part of one of my favorite games ever in Packers history, that 6 touchdown first half against the Bears. He had that screen pass.
Like a 60-yard, yeah.
Yeah, and Jordy Nelson's running from freaking 80 yards down the field to block for him. That was an awesome play.
It took Eddie Lacy 84 minutes to score on that play.
It did. It took forever. He's the whole highlight video of 8 minutes of him running 60 yards. Oh, Jesus.
Oh, shit. That's funny. All right. We'll let Jake get to his number 3.
All right. My number 3. Oh, man. This one's close to my heart because Ricky Weeks was the man. Ricky Weeks.
Actually, back in Milwaukee. He's an assistant of player development, so he's back in the organization. So that's cool.
That's relevant now since baseball's back. So here we go. That worked out. But Ricky, he played 11 years in Milwaukee. I broke it down by at bats, hits, average, home runs, and RBIs because those are really the big ones. I don't want to get into defense and all that stuff because he wasn't really that great at defense at all at any point in his career. Walks. He wasn't that kind of guy. But at bats, he had 4,056 at bats in Milwaukee, and he had 1,009 hits. So he averaged 250 basically for his career batting average. He had 148 home runs and 430 RBIs. Those are his 11 years in Milwaukee. And second base isn't really a power spot anyways, so that's really what made Ricky Weeks kind of special, is that he could walk up there and he was a guy that could hit a home run.
And the leadoff spot, too.
Yeah. His best season was 2010, where he hit 269, 29 home runs, and 83 RBIs. That's pretty solid. Tyler brought up, your leadoff hitter and second baseman. That's pretty damn good. But the weird part is he made the All-Star team one time, and it was the year after. So everybody kind of was just like, oh, yeah, Ricky Weeks is really good. We're going to put him in the All-Star game this next year.
It's
But
like the All-Star game in baseball happens sooner than it does in any other professional league. Like the NBA,
yeah,
it happens like 2/3 of the way through the season. Obviously, the NFL, it happens at the end of the season. But baseball's is like a third of the way into the season. Like theirs is in like it. I don't know. It's weird like when it happens that it's so early,
yeah.
but whatever.
I mean, I don't remember because that was a long time ago. He must have been off to a really, really hot
He
start
did
in
the
2011.
home run derby, I think, that year too, because I think it was like the home run derby roster was like players that were picked, and Prince Fielder was like the lead captain for the home run derby, and he picked Ricky Weeks to be on his team.
That's lit. Um, but yeah, then you just after Milwaukee, it kind of resembles the Eddie Lacy, where it's just all of a sudden like, okay, he's pretty good. But I mean, Ricky put 11 years in Milwaukee, so that's a pretty good chunk of time.
Yeah, not
Um, but
four.
but yeah, he bounced around after that. Three straight years with three different teams. The first year was Arizona. He only had 180 at bats with them, 43 hits, 240 average, 9 home runs, 27 RBIs. It's not very good. This is where it gets kind of sad. He played for Tampa Bay. 97 at bats, 21 hits, average 2 home runs, 8 RBIs, and then in Seattle he didn't even get over the Mendoza line, which is really bad. 84 at bats, 14 hits, 167 average, 2 home runs, and 9 RBIs. So I mean, after he left Milwaukee, he didn't even come close to his career best in average home runs or RBIs. So he was just a roster spot. He was a backup infielder, and it was kind of sad after that. It's weird seeing him in another jersey. He's always going to be a Brewer to me. But yeah, when I thought of players that were not the same, he was honestly one of the first ones I thought of. Was like, man, I remember when Ricky Weeks left the Brewers. That sucked.
So I was trying to think of Bucks players. Brad mentioned him in the comments already. I mentioned Brandon Jennings. Brandon Jennings is one of mine. He's my number 3. He was drafted 7 spots before Drew Holiday.
Mm,
Same
put that
draft,
into
7
perspective.
picks ahead of Drew Holiday. And
Mm,
he was traded to the Detroit Pistons for Brandon Knight and Chris Middleton. So, I mean,
mm-hmm.
it did work out for the Bucks. Bucks got Chris Middleton in the trade for him. Jabari Parker would be another good one. It's kind of hard to find some Bucks because there was some pretty rough years in the early and mid 20s and or 2000s and 2010s. So it was kind of rough. But Brandon Jennings, his last year in Milwaukee, averaged 17 and a half points, 6.5 assists, shot 81% from the free throw line, 46.8% on field goals. Oh, that was his effective field goal percentage. Sorry, 37.5% on threes. His first year in Detroit, he did average one more assist per game, did average more turnovers, and his defensive box plus minus also dropped by over 1.3 points, and his points per game dropped by 2 points, despite a higher usage rate. He did have a bounce back year in the 2014 and 2015 season, and then he was sent to Orlando Magic in the deal that brought Tobias Harris to the Detroit Pistons. Only played 25 games in Orlando. And then he played one last season, half with the New York Knicks, half with the Washington Wizards. And then he brought back to the Bucks, and he played 14 games with the Bucks in 2017-18 season.
I
So
remember
um,
that. That was lit.
yeah, it was
It
cool. It was cool to see
so
him
lit.
in the green and cream jerseys.
Yeah.
So he got to end his career back in Milwaukee where he started it, and he was out of the NBA before he turned 30. So um,
Man.
now he's just kind of hanging around the Fiserv Forum and getting the crowd going. And Isaac's making fun of my headphones, but whatever.
No, I
um,
think he's actually giving you a shout out.
but now, yeah, like I said, Brandon Jennings just kind of hanging around the Fiserv Forum and giving the fans some energy and kind of letting people know that there were dark times in Milwaukee, and now it's better and it's more fun. So definitely got to appreciate the good times while they're here.
Can we reminisce about Brandon Jennings when he first came here, man? He drops the 50-point game against Curry, bro. He was absolutely insane that day. He has the haircut where it's like half fro and half of it is down. He looks like a piece of cake on his head. And then he was in the Rising Stars game. I mean, I used to love Brandon Jennings, dude. He was super quick, and everybody, oh, he's out of Oak Hill Academy, blah blah blah. This, oh, we drafted him number 10. He didn't want to come here. Man, there was just so much talk going on. Those were weird days as a Bucks fan, man. Um, oh man, Bucks. I'll tell you what, though, Brandon Jennings will always be part of Bucks culture because he started the Bucks in 6 chant. So Brandon Jennings is forever embedded in Milwaukee Bucks culture, no way around it. Plus, like Tyler said, he brought Chris Middleton here, and without Chris Middleton, we don't have a title. So either way, he's embedded in our history forever.
Yes. All right. I'm going to let you do your number 4. I got to run, and I will be right back. So I will let you do your number 4, and then I will come back.
All right. My number 4 is actually the reason I got into fantasy football. As a little kid, I watched Javon Walker get drafted by the Green Bay Packers in the first round, the 20th pick, and you watch this kid come out of Florida State, and he was 6'3", 215. He ran a 4.3 40. He had a 39.5-inch vertical, and I was like, man, Javon Walker's sick, man. As a little kid, Javon Walker was nasty. Had the first NBA logo on his haircut. Oh, shit, I didn't even know that. But Javon Walker was a cold-blooded killer when he first came out, man. He played 4 years in Green Bay, injury-prone years, but he had 157 catches, 2,444 yards. He had a 15.6-yard average, 22 touchdowns, and 106 first downs. I always write down first downs and look at first downs when I look at a wide receiver because you could tell the guys that get the targets are the ones that get the first downs. They're the ones, when it's a 3rd and 6, that's who the quarterback is looking for. Look at the Packers now. Rodgers literally always stares down Devontae. I mean, it was the death of us in the playoffs, obviously. But, Javon Walker really ruined his opportunity in Green Bay, kind of like Jennings. Way worse, though, because he said that there's a lot of quotes out there about Javon Walker, and he talked about how he didn't want to play here anymore. He's like, Green Bay wants everybody to come to work and beat up their body, but when it comes time to pay, they didn't want to pay. And he really just threw a lot of dirt on us on his way out, and he had a quote where he said, the next time that I play, I'm going to play for a team in a city that loves me. And he really just didn't think that Green Bay respected him. And I don't know why he did that. But then the Packers shipped him off to Denver. He had one really, really good year up there. A chunk of his stats was from one season. He had 95 catches, 1371, 14.4 average, 8 touchdowns, and 63 first downs. He played 2 years in Denver. So he had, I think it was 1,044 yards in the first year. So for him to only end up with 1,371, not very good. He then went to Oakland, and his career died. He had 15 catches, 196 yards, 13.1 average, 1 touchdown, 12 first downs, and he fizzled out. But like I said, when he first came out, man, 6'3", ran 4.3, 40-inch vertical, I was like, this guy is going to be a monster. But that's not the way it worked out. But Javon Walker was still one of my first favorite players. As a little kid, in 2002, I'm 9 years old, so.
I think my number 2 guy was a similar one of those, and He was one of the first autographs that I ever had. Same from the the same era as Ricky Weeks, a little bit before the Giovanni Gallardo time, but part of the 2018 that went to the playoffs and had the whole beast mode thing going on, and it was really a bummer to see him go. He had 5 straight 32 or more home run seasons in Milwaukee, including 50 in 2007, 46 in 2009, and then he went to the Rangers. He got traded to the Rangers. He played 289 games with the Rangers over 3 seasons. Had 34 home runs in his his first season with the Rangers. Um, and he was out of the Major League Baseball by 33 years old. For some context, Ryan Braun played until he was 36. Obviously, he dealt with some injuries later in his career too, so
Mm-hmm.
that shortened his career. Obviously, Prince was not a small guy, so his conditioning was a little different. But yeah, Prince Fielder from let's see, my notes are kind of hard to read. Um, his 4 years after leaving the Brewers, 30 home runs, 25 home runs, 23 home runs, and that was with the Rangers and the Tigers. So Prince Fielder, all of his averages went down. He did have one okay year in 2012, and after that, his home runs went down, his strikeouts went up, his RBI went down, his batting average down, on base percentage down, slugging percentage down. So just really, it seems like a lot of these guys, when they turn anywhere around 30, it just seems to begin to be a decline. Or if you're Eddie Lacy, you don't even make it to 30.
Yeah.
And same with Brandon Jennings, out of the NBA before he was 30. Um, some of these guys were traded and didn't really have control of when their time in Wisconsin was up. But Prince Fielder did have that choice, and you know he was traded and never was the same. So it is what it is. Some of these guys leave in free agency, some
Yeah.
of them get traded, but it's just a bummer. I mean, I guess I would rather see it where they were better in Wisconsin than they were elsewhere. And
Yeah.
I think Jake and I have kicked around the idea of doing the opposite and doing guys who had better careers once they got out of their Wisconsin teams. So that might be our next month's bonus episode, just to show that we aren't trying to be homerish with the way that we do things. So we might do some stuff that's a reality but a little bit of a kick in the pants. So we'll see what that one turns up to be. But I'll let Jake do his last player that left Wisconsin.
First of all, I'm gonna say Ryan Braun and Prince Fielder. They're when their
That
primes
three
were matching
four.
up, they were amazing to watch. Those were back in the days of me and you, Curtis, the gang. We were all playing baseball every day, every summer. We didn't even have cell phones, man. We were just like, all right, we're just gonna go to the park and see if the boys are there. We ride our bikes, drop them, and we would just go to town, man. Some of the best memories ever, by the way. But my number five, and I feel like if he would have been more mature about the situation, it could have worked out better. But my number five is Kobe King.
It's a good one.
Obviously, we just watched the Badgers, and they looked horrible. So when Tyler brought up a kick in the pants, the first thing I thought of was just the Badgers kicking me in the pants tonight. But the reason for having Kobe King on this list, his numbers actually did improve when he left, but it wasn't by much, and he's playing against way easier competition. So King is on this list because he could have been competing in the best conference, and he came from the same exact high school as Johnny and Jordan Davis, and obviously Johnny Davis was the Player of the Year in the Big Ten. Um, they both came from a high school in Lacrosse Central. And, when he first got here, Kobe King was a big deal. He was a big recruit for the Badgers to get. I remember hearing about him when we were recruiting him. But when he first got here, he appeared in 10 games his freshman year. He shot 45% from the field, 33% from three, and he averaged 5 points. Now, this is a freshman, and back in 17-18, Wisconsin was still kind of old school, and they were still, kind of slowly bringing their freshmen in. Obviously, we see this year with Chucky Hepburn that things have changed, but
Yeah.
you have to bring yourself back to that situation. In 18 and 19, he started one game. He played in 34 games. Shot 44% from the field, 30% from three. He averaged 4 points, 2.1 rebounds, and 0.5 assists. So not really a jump in any aspect except rebounding. His points went down, his shooting went down. So all of a sudden, people in Madison are starting to look around like, is this guy really that good, or was he just talk? Then you get to 1920, and this was the team. When he was on the team, the Badgers were 5-5 in the Big Ten, and they were 12-9 overall. And he was causing a big stink. He played in 19 games, started 19 games. He shot 46% from the field, 25 from three. That is horrible. He averaged 2.8 rebounds, 10 points, and 1.6 assists. When he left the team, he was our leading scorer at 10 points per game, which is crazy to me. And after he left, the Badgers finished that year 14-6 in the Big Ten and 21-10 overall. So they literally lost one game the rest of the season after he left. And they went on to win the Big Ten share of the Big Ten title that year. And that was obviously the start of Corona, so there was no NCAA tournament, no Big Ten tournament. And that was the team, if you looked on Yahoo.com, they picked that Badgers team that was on fire to win the national title. Of course, right? Of course. He skipped last year, and then, well, because he transferred to Nebraska, if you remember. And then he decided that Nebraska wasn't the right fit for him. So then he sat out, and he went to Valpo. He played at Valpo this year. Started 22 games, appeared in 23. Shot 47%, career high from field goal percentage. 36% from three, so that's respectable. He averaged 14 points, 4.7 rebounds, and 1.3 assists. So, as I said, his numbers went up. But when you're playing against Cleveland State,
I was going to say, when you go from
Illinois
the Big Ten
State,
to the Horizon League.
I mean, you're not really playing against the best competition. So, obviously, this guy, his ranking, everything about him, his head, his game, it was all fluff. And that's why I do not respect and I don't care what people are ranked. Because sometimes there's just something different in here or there's something different in here. And that's exactly what we got in Johnny Davis. Johnny Davis wasn't the highest recruited kid in the nation. He actually grew up as a Kentucky fan, but Kentucky never recruited him. Yeah, he had. I read up on Johnny Davis, and he used to sleep on Kentucky bed sheets. Yeah, that's nice. How big of a Kentucky Wildcats fan he was. So he was apparently he was devastated, and all of his friends told him not to go to Madison because Madison wasn't a place to go to the league, and they didn't think that he was going to make it to the NBA going to Wisconsin. So Johnny obviously proved that wrong. So
I'll say, yeah, now he's going to be a top 10 pick.
Yeah, I'm very happy that, things like the Kobe King situation and, there's just a lot of situations that happened, at Madison within the last 3 years, I'd say, that happened that have kind of created a beautiful disaster, in my opinion.
That's fair. It's an interesting way to look at it, too. Brad in the comments said TJ Lang. That's one I'd have to maybe look into and see. It's just hard to gauge offensive lineman production.
I wanted to talk about his Jabari Parker thing. His Jabari Parker thing is not fair. Parker tore his ACL twice when he was in Milwaukee.
Twice.
He didn't really have a chance, when he left, man. He was already damaged goods. And it was sad because when he was here, man, I thought him and Giannis were about to take over the league, man. Let's be honest. We all did. You see Jabari dunking on people. The next possession, Giannis is dunking on people. And I thought Chris was about to be the third wheel. And then Jabari got hurt, and it forced Chris into that role,
The only problem I ever had with Jabari Parker was that he was never a defender.
No.
Never.
He was going to be all offense all the time.
And now we have Bobby Portis for that, and he's a few inches taller, and he can shoot better, and he's got the fire.
He's more of a tough guy, exactly. That's what I was going to say, too. Yeah.
All right, so my last one goes back to the early 2000s, and injuries kind of played a part in this one too. Not quite to the extent, but Jabari Parker's last year was in 2002 with the Bucks. Glenn Robinson's last year with the Bucks was in 2002. He was traded to the Hawks in a deal that got the Bucks Tony Kukoc and a first-round pick. His age 29. We got Tony Kukoc for Glenn Robinson. He's in the Hall of Fame now, so we got that going for us.
Let's go.
And his age 29 season was his last season in Milwaukee. His player efficiency rating was 19.1. His true shooting percentage was 53.7. He averaged 20.7 points, 6.2 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 1.5 steals, and 0.68 blocks, 2.6 turnovers a game, and shot 46.7 from field goal percentage. His first year in Atlanta was where he was traded. His player efficiency rating dropped to 16.7, so down 2.4. His field goal percentage went from 46.7 to 43.2. His true shooting went from 53.7 to 51.9, and his averages stayed pretty close to the same, actually. He averaged zero point 0.1 more points, zero point 0.4 more rebounds, zero point 0.5 more assists, zero point 0.2 fewer steals, and zero point 0.2 fewer blocks, but added one extra turnover a game, so that's where that dip in the player efficiency rating came in.
Mm-hmm.
His usage rate, exactly the same as last year in Milwaukee and his first year in Atlanta, so it's a pretty even baseline to make a comparison.
Yep.
His offensive box plus minus went from 1.2 to zero point 0.7. His defensive box plus minus went from negative zero point 0.9 to negative 1.5. And his first season in Atlanta, his value over replacement player was just 0.8. So really just pretty average player as far as efficiency is concerned. Obviously, he did give you the 20 points and 6 rebounds a game, but just wasn't the same player that he was in Milwaukee. And then after that, he was traded to the Philadelphia 76ers, missed the 2004-2005 season, was then traded to the New Orleans Hornets at the time, were the New Orleans Hornets, and he was immediately waived. So he signed with the San Antonio Spurs and played 9 regular season games and 13 playoff games with the Spurs, and then he was done.
Downhill fast.
And he was retired by 33 years old.
Wow.
Carmelo Anthony, LeBron James, Paul Millsap, LaMarcus Aldridge, Chris Paul, Dwight Howard, PJ Tucker, Rajon Rondo, Al Horford, Jeff Green, all guys playing longer. And now 33 is kind of a hill area in the NBA, but back then, guys were retiring by like 35. That standard is kind of changing. You throw a guy like Kyle Korver out there who played until he was, like 39. LeBron is at 37.
The game is not even close to as physical, man.
Yeah, and that's what it is from the early 2000s to now. The game's faster. It's not as as head to head. I mean, there still is some head to head. They're still posting up and stuff, but it was a lot more of an interior game than it is now. And Glenn Robinson was a power forward that embodied that. That's why they called him Big Dog.
Yeah. I mean, that's why, we look at a guy like Giannis and we're like, dude, this guy's only 27. He's only 27. He's only 27. Because you can play until you're 37 now. Yep. And obviously LeBron is out there averaging, like 29 points, 8 rebounds, and 9 assists. I mean, Giannis could be averaging that at fucking 37, So, yeah, we got 10 more years of prime Giannis. That's fucking sick. Let's get it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's and we don't even know what kind of evolutions will be in his game between now and then.
This guy might want to play for 47.
look at Dwayne Wade, what he did late in his career. Mm-hmm. He became a really reliable jump shooter. I mean, he was never like a knockdown 3-point shooter, but when he shot a fadeaway, like you thought it was going in every time.
Yeah,
Dwayne Wade, he became a mid-range assassin for the last 3 to 4 years of his career.
Yeah, he had to. He couldn't take the banging no more, man.
Mm-hmm.
Sucked.
Yeah.
Sucked. His knees gave out on him. If his knees could have gave him 3 more years, dude, he would have been a fucking badass, dude. Miami would have went on a crazy run, seriously.
Yeah. I don't know if that would have been enough to entice LeBron to stick around in Miami, but and it sucks too because like Dwayne Wade's kind of beginning of his decline coincided with Chris Bosh's heart issue.
Yeah.
That forced Chris Bosh to retire.
That was tough.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of just went really downhill from there, and Miami bringing in Luol Deng, who really did not perform at all. And he was on a high-paying contract too, so that was kind of a tough one for Miami to get over the hurdle with. But hey, that's our second bonus episode. Is some guys that weren't the same when they left their Wisconsin teams. If you have any ideas that bonus things you'd like Jake and I to look into, things you think would be cool to hear the research on or to hear the numbers on, just sports stuff you want talked about in general, like even if it's something as basic as explaining a zone defense in football. If it's something even as basic as that, there's no such thing as a dumb question, and it doesn't matter. Jake and I will talk about it. We'll make something out of it, and we can combine it with stuff. We could do a basics of a sport episode. Like Jake and I have, unlimited options when it comes to the bonus episodes. Our Wednesday episodes will continue to be our most recent, discussions from the past week in Wisconsin sports and stuff. And I think Wednesday, Jake and I will be doing a free agency wish list for the Packers, and that'll be on the 16th. And then the 23rd, we're going to do our Brewers primer because baseball is back. So definitely got some good stuff coming up. So anything you want us to talk about or look into or research, let us know, and we'll do it.
Also coming up with the NCAA tournament right around the corner, we're going to be doing a tournament bracket challenge. So we welcome everybody. I would honestly love it if we got like 20, 25 people in this. That would actually
be fun.
Legit. But yeah.
It'll be a lot to keep track of for me, but we'll do it.
I mean, I'll take half, you take half, really.
We can do that.
But, last place takes a pie to the face. So just understand that if you get last place in this tournament pick'em, you're going to take a pie to the face. It's not that bad, though.
But first place gets one of these. $25 to Parker Johns. That's what you get if you get first place. That's what you get.
That's a free dinner. All you got to do is pick the NCAA tournament and beat 20 other random people. Easy as that. But
dude, it would be awesome if Courtney won it because she picked all the upsets right last year. I will not forget that.
Hey, it
was so weird.
I told Chantel she's forced in it because I need her to take a pie to the dome, dude. That would be hilarious. But yeah, that was our bonus episode. I had fun. I liked finding out this stuff about these people.
Yeah, it's something different. That's the idea of the bonus episode. The first one we did was back in October, and that was like spooky sports stories. That was an interesting one. It was a weird thing to try to find stuff about, but like the haunted hotel in Milwaukee, and it was interesting.
I did the Honey Bears, which obviously still haunts the Bears today because they just traded Khalil Mack for a second round and a sixth rounder.
Dude, that was funny. I thought it was going to be funny if they got a second and a fourth, and then I found out they got a second and a sixth.
Oh, my God. Bro, the funniest part is that all these teams are doing fire sales now, dude. Like, what? Like, the Bears
the Vikings. The Vikings are cutting people, and they're trying to trade Kirk Cousins.
And Daniel Hunter's asking for $1 bazillion. They thought our quarterback was bad asking for that money. Their defensive end, who didn't even play barely last year, is asking for $25 million. That's bad.
The Vikings fans are making fun of the Packers because Bakhtiari will be making $30 million in 2 years.
And to be honest, if he doesn't play up to standard, they'll probably just cut him.
They'll just cut him. Yeah.
If they have to, if Rodgers is gone, even if he's there, you got to make those business decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Or if he plays well, you extend him and then you just move that money around. It's doable. The NFL is a game of pushing stuff to the future. So
as long as Russ Ball is on the Green Bay Packers,
Russ Ball is a wizard, so we have that going for us.
That.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
We'll figure it out.
All right, man. I got work in a few hours, so I'm gonna head out.
All right. Well, take care, and we will be back sometime next month with another bonus episode, and we will be back on Wednesday. Unfortunately, talking about the Badgers game, but hopefully the Bucks can get some good mojo for us for next week.
Man, I made a comment earlier to my dad, and I was like, "It looks like it's back to the Bucks being the only team that knows how to win a goddamn big game." Ridiculous, but I'm gonna save all that energy for Wednesday, dude.
Yeah, well, and like I said, we'll do free agents on Wednesday for the Packers, so that'll give us something else to talk about too.
All right, man. I'll talk to you later, buddy.
See you on Wednesday.
Peace out.